In today's Leeds news, Elland Road work update, links to Abubakar Kinte, talks with Alajbegovic, Valencia not done with Ramazani, and Harry Wilson interest.
Wallace. Now you go with
Hey folks, welcome to the Leeds View for Wednesday the 3rd of June with your Leeds United news. Jay here, hope your week is going well so far. We had the podcast out last night, myself, Paul and Jerry discussing Leeds United summer plans that came out through the Athletic over the last couple of days. You can check that out if you want to. We also got stuck into the predictions that we did with 8 games to go in the season. Finished about middling, I think we were all about middling in that, so not bad considering. Also, you will have seen on social media Leeds United put out a trailer for a kit launch that will happen tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. As we are partnered with Fanatics, we will have links for that kit first thing tomorrow morning. It'll go out on our social media platforms. It'll go out as a post on the YouTube channel as well as mentioning it here. If you are interested in supporting the channel and you are interested in buying that kit, whatever that kit may be when it comes out, if you use those links, it's a massive help to this channel. I very much appreciate it. Every single penny that goes into this channel goes straight back onto the channel in some way, shape, or form. So that would be appreciated. Outside of that, we've got a bit of news to get stuck in today, and we're going to start off with the work around Elland Road, which is now very much underway. So some changes around Elland Road today. Drone footage shows the new Bremner and Hunter hospitality structure that has been moved in behind the COP is now pretty much up. The internal work still needs to be done on that, but at the moment that has been moved. The old ticket office is gone. The work has begun on demolishing that, as well as the Bremner Hunter suite at work has started now as well. It's sad to see that ticket office go. That has seen some very high highs at Leeds and some very low lows, and if those walls could talk, it could probably tell a couple of stories as well. The plan for Leeds, though, going into this summer with the stand is not to lose a single seat during the development, and that's very important from the SDR and the revenue perspective as well, which is part of the reason why the Bremner and Hunter suite is being relocated and they're keeping it rather than just taking the hit for a year. They need to make sure that revenue is still coming in. So that is being moved. Scaffolding has gone up around the existing hospitality area and that work will start. And then they're hoping to get as much of that work done as they can during the summer to not impact people who go to the games once the season gets underway. Thanks to Jerry McNamee, by the way, for sending in those photographs to me this morning. And also, as Jerry has pointed out to me, Leeds might even look for a couple of away games to start the season off in order just to facilitate some of the work so people can get in there at the ground once they are back at home. So yeah, it's interesting. It's very much underway. We'll keep an eye on it over the course of the summer. Let's move on and talk about some links. There's a lot of transfer stories today. Some of these are coming from slightly more credible journalists than we tend to hear during the rumour mill stuff. So there's no point in doing an actual rumour mill piece today. We'll just put these out there and you guys can have a little digest of them and see what you think yourself. The first one is a link to Abubakar Kinte, which has come out late last night. And we covered a lot of the rumours in the rumour mill. And we'll tell you which are credible, which are less credible, pinch of salt, all that kind of stuff. Even the less credible places tend to have a couple of journalists who have their finger on the pulse a lot more than most places. And one of those is Rudy Galetti. And he had a piece out late last night. And he has linked Leeds United with Tromsø's Gambian centre-half Abubakar Kinte. Kinte has played 9 times for Tromsø in their 13 league games so far this season. Like the League of Ireland here, their season kicks off what they call a calendar year football. So over the course of the summer. So it only kicked off a couple of months ago. And he's been very much involved in that so far. Kinte is a left-footed centre-half, and we don't have a huge amount of them around the club right now. He's 6'1" in height. He's a very athletic player, and he has been labelled as a footballing centre-half. He is only 19 years of age, and he is playing for Tromsø, so this could feel like one that if Leeds are looking at him, it's one they're looking at for potentially the future. Galetti has claimed that Leeds United and Bundesliga side FC Cologne are both interested in the player, and around Leeds specifically, he said that Leeds United have gathered information on the player over the last couple of days. All the transfer talk is interested, isn't it? That the words, interested, keeping an eye, monitoring the situation, gathering information. So Leeds have at least asked about him. For me, it could be one for the under-21s and one for the future. A fee of €6 million, so about 4.6, 4.7 million pounds. Not a huge amount. Does feel like an under-21 style signing and a price tag that you would also put on a decent under-21 player as well. But we'll keep an eye on that one. It is an interesting one. The next one to talk about comes out from a far more credible source, and it's the Daily Mail's Simon Jones. And Daily Mail's not always right on everything, but it should be pointed out, since the 49ers took ownership of Leeds United, the Daily Mail has kind of been their go-to place to get information out when they've needed to, so they might have their finger slightly more on the pulse than other places. Simon Jones, very credible. He says that Leeds United, along with other clubs, have held talk with Red Bull's Salzburg's 18-year-old winger Karim Alajbegovic. Alajbegovic is a 2-footed attacker. He can play left or right hand side, and he can play as a 10 as well, which would tick some of the boxes that Leeds are looking to get this summer. Jones, though, does claim that Arsenal, Aston Villa and Leeds United have all already held talks with Alajbegovic's representatives about a possible move. There is also interest in Serie A. Napoli, Roma and Inter Milan are all keeping an eye on the situation as well. Despite his young age, because he is 18, 19 years of age, he played 28 times for Salzburg last season. He started 22 of those games and he scored 9 goals and added 3 assists. He's a full Bosnian international. He's 6 foot in height and has got Europa League experience behind him as well. He played 7 games for Salzburg this season, the Europa League, scored twice and added an assist in those games as well. His ownership is really interesting. So Bayer Leverkusen sold him to Salzburg, but had an option to buy him back. They actioned that option pretty much immediately to bring him back to the club this summer for £7 million. They're said to want to keep the player, but they've also slapped the price tag on his head. And they might have seen the amount of interest that was in him and used the option to bring him back in order to try and maximise their profits on him again. They put an £18 million price tag on his head, and Jones says that that Leverkusen would like to keep him this season, but also, depending on the level of interest, he may go. He is 18 years of age. It's a lot of money. He's had a hell of a season already, and depending on Leverkusen's stance, you could get a bit of a bidding war on him. And as we know, Leeds will not get involved in a bidding war. If they can get a good value for a young player, they bring him in. Again, going back to Baron Cross's piece, Leeds are looking to reduce the age profile of players they bring in this summer. The winger thing's an interesting one because people are saying Leeds aren't looking for wingers. Leeds are looking for an inside forward, for lack of a better term. So a winger, a left-footed winger who can play on the right-hand side and come infield, like Noah Okafor. And that will be when we get to Harry Wilson as well, how that ticks that box. So it's an interesting one to keep an eye on. It is coming from Simon Jones, far more credible than most people. One to watch at least. Could be no more than interest. Again, Leeds won't get involved in a bidding war. We'll see. Let's move on. So last week we were told that Valencia wouldn't be attempting to sign Larry Ramazani permanently this summer due to his high wages and some tight financial situations around Valencia right now. However, outlet Tribuna VCF claimed that Valencia CEO Ron Gurley has flown into the UK to try and speed up potential talks around a permanent move for Larry Ramazani from Leeds to Valencia this summer. Ramazani said his goodbyes to Valencia fans on social media, thanking the Messiah, and he has widely been expected to return to Leeds United this summer. Norwich City have been rumoured as a club that are potentially interested in bringing him into the Championship next season, but he was expected to leave Leeds anyway. But Valencia was the interesting one here. I've seen some people review his loan, saying that he had an average or poor loan, and that's only if you look at the actual numbers that are on the board. Ramazani was injured for a huge chunk of the first half of the season, and when he was fit and back in the squad for the second half of the season, we covered him every single week. He had a very good second half of the season and was very important to getting Valencia out of the relegation trouble and up to 9th place in La Liga, and only a couple of points off of European football. Tribuna VCF claim Valencia do want to bring Ramazani back to the club, and Carlos Corberan was very impressed with his form in the second half of the season and wants him back at the club. Now, Corberan has been linked with a potential move to Fulham, so that could scupper that one depending on that one, but then everybody and their mother has been linked with a move to Fulham at this moment in time. From a Leeds perspective, the rumoured asking price from Leeds is expected to be somewhere between 8.6 and £10 million. Plaza Deportivo, they claim that Ramazani is almost certainly leaving Elland Road this summer. There will be interest in Spain again after that really decent second half of the season that he did have. So it's an interesting one to talk about. He is one of the likely exits from the club, and we'll see where we go from there. Let's talk about Harry Wilson, since this one popped up again yesterday. There's always one transfer every single summer that comes back from a previous one that's got a little bit more credibility to it than maybe it had the previous year. This year, it's Harry Wilson. So this all kicked off again after Baron Cross's piece on Leeds United summer plans, and he claimed that Harry Wilson was still a live transfer target for Leeds United this summer. And it kind of makes sense when you see what Leeds are looking for this summer. Wilson has had an unbelievable season at Fulham. He got 11 goals and 8 assists last season. And we're ticking off a lot of the boxes what Leeds are looking for going into next season. Now, I labelled him as an average enough player at the start of last season. Every time I label someone as average, they go on to have a great season. So if there's a player you want to be brilliant next season, let me know in the comments and I'll call him average in a couple of weeks' time. And we'll watch him have a blinder of a season. The thing about Harry Wilson is he's a left-footed, right-sided attacker, which is exactly what Barron Cross also said Leeds were looking for this summer. And he would balance out that attack. You have no Okafor on one side, and they're looking for someone similar on the other side, in behind DCL, and he would tick that box. And as we know, Leeds were very keen on him last summer. We had an airplane on the tarmac, depending on who you believe, last summer. We nearly got him, and we had a little sniff around him again in January. But he does bring a lot to the table. He's got Premier League experience. He's 29 years of age. He's captained his national side, so brings leadership qualities. And he is available on a free transfer, which we know Leeds do like. The issue here is going to be the volume of interest. After such a good season, there are a ton of clubs keeping an eye on him. The ones that have been named as front runners are Aston Villa, Tottenham Hotspur, Crystal Palace, and Leeds United. But don't rule out the fact that he could potentially follow his manager that's got the best out of him, Marco Silva, to Benfica. It's less likely, but you never know with football. He's got a very strong set-piece string to his bow, which would help Leeds United next season as well. It would add something extra to the squad. And he's a free. So it is a no-brainer. It's an absolute no-brainer. But I wouldn't expect this one to be simple. I wouldn't expect it to be straightforward. And it's Leeds. I would expect this to drag on a little bit before anything would get done, if it gets done at all. The other factor to this is the Welsh aspect to it. Does the Welsh aspect actually have an impact on this? What's his relationship like with the Welsh players that at Leeds? You've got Ampadu, Rodon, Darlow, Linu, Dan James, and Charlie Crew all at the club. And does that play a factor? And if he's tight with Rodon and Ampadu, does he want to play with them next season? Does he see the ambition that Leeds United have? He's played at Elland Road. He's seen that firsthand again. So it would be interesting to see what he decides he wants to do next season. But he is a player, for all intents and purposes, that ticks an awful lot of the boxes that Leeds would normally go for during a transfer window. And they looked at him last summer as well. So if they can talk him out of maybe going elsewhere and coming to Leeds United, it would be a very strong sign to get done, especially on a free transfer, and it frees up more money. Leeds said they'll be strategic this summer, bringing in one or two smart players on a free like they did last summer, doing it on the cheap. But, you know, DCL cost nothing, Metro cost nothing, and they worked out really well for Leeds this season. So if you can get a player of Harry Wilson's quality for nothing, you should jump at it if you can. Folks, that'll be it for me today. You can check out last night's podcast with Paul and Jerry and a deeper conversation around all these topics as well if you want to do that. And keep an eye out in the morning for the Fanatics links. They will be on the Instagram page, the X account, the Blue Sky, the Threads, and on the post section on YouTube. If you want to help us out, you can buy from that link. Outside that, have a great rest of your day. I'll talk to you later on. See ya.